Ladies and gentlemen, please take a minute to turn off all cell phones and noise-making devices that you may have turned on during the intermission. Open for the second half.
Surely such a utilitarian occupation as the watering of flowers is rather the gardener's duty than yours, especially at a moment when intellectual pleasures await you. Your German grammar is on the table. Pray open it at page 15. We will repeat yesterday's lesson.
But I don't like German. It isn't at all a becoming language. I know perfectly well that I look quite plain after my German lesson.
Child, you know how anxious your guardian is that you should improve yourself in every way. He laid particular stress on your German as he was leaving for town yesterday. In fact, he always lays stress on your German when he's leaving for town.
So your Uncle Jack is so very serious. Sometimes he is so serious that I think he cannot be quite well.
Your guardian enjoys the best of health, and his gravity of demeanor is especially to be commended in one so comparatively young as he is. I know no one who has a higher sense of duty and responsibility.
I suppose that is why he often looks a little bored when we three are together.
Cecily, I'm surprised at you. Mr. Worthing has many troubles in his life. Idle merriment and triviality would be out of place in his conversation. You must remember his constant anxiety over that unfortunate young man, his brother.
I wish Uncle Jack would allow that unfortunate young man, his brother, to come down here sometime. We might have a good influence on him, Miss Prism. I know you certainly would. You know things like German and geology and things of that kind influence a man very much.
I do not think that even I could produce any effect on a character who, according to his own brother's admission, is irretrievably weak and vacillating. Indeed, I am not sure that I would desire to reclaim him. I am not in favor of this modern mania for turning bad people to good people at a moment's notice. As a man sows, so let him reap. Cecily, you really must put away your diary. I really don't see why you should keep a diary at all.
I keep a diary in order to enter the wonderful secrets of my life. If I didn't write them down, I should probably forget all about them.
Memory, dear Cecily, is the diary we all carry about with us.
Yes, but it usually chronicles of things that have never happened and couldn't possibly have happened. I believe that memory is responsible for nearly all 3-volume novels that Moody sends us.
Do not speak slightingly of the 3-volume novel, Cecily. I wrote one myself in earlier days.
Did you really, Miss Prism? How wonderfully clever you are. I hope it did not end happily. I don't like novels that end happily. They depress me so much.
The good ended happily, the bad unhappily. That is what fiction means.
I suppose so. But it seems very unfair. And was your novel ever published?
Alas, no. Unfortunately, the manuscript was abandoned. I misspoke. I used the word in the sense of lost or mislaid. To your work, child. These speculations are profitless.
Ah, but I see a dear Dr. Chasuble coming up through the garden.
Dr. Chasuble, this is indeed a pleasure.
How are we this morning? Miss Prism, you are, I trust, well?
Miss Prism has just been complaining of a slight headache. I think it would do her so much good to have a short stroll in the park with you, Dr. Chasuble.
Cecily, I have not said anything about a headache.
No, I know that, dear Miss Prism, but I felt instinctively that you hadn't. Indeed, I was thinking about that and not about my German lesson when the rector told me.
I hope, Cecily, you are not inattentive.
Oh, I'm afraid I am.
That is strange. Were I fortunate enough to be Miss Prism's pupil, I would hang upon her lips. I spoke metaphorically. My metaphor was drawn from bees. Has Mr. Worthing not returned from town yet, I suppose?
We do not expect him till Monday afternoon.
Ah, yes. He usually likes to spend his Sundays in London. He is not one of those whose sole aim is enjoyment, as by all accounts, that unfortunate young man, his brother, seems to be. But I must not disturb Egeria and her pupil any longer.
Egeria? My name is Laetitia, Doctor.
A classical allusion merely, drawn from the pagan authors. I shall see you both, no doubt, at evensong.
I think, dear Doctor, I will have a stroll with you. I find I have a headache after all, and a walk might do it good.
With pleasure, Miss Prism, with pleasure. We might go as far as the schools and back.
That would be delightful. Cecily, you will study your political economy in my absence. The chapter on the fall of the rupee you may omit. It is somewhat too sensational. Even these metallic problems have their melodramatic side.
Horrid political economy, horrid geography, horrid German.
Mr. Earnest Worthing has just driven over from the station. He has brought his luggage with him.
Mr. Earnest Worthing, 340 Albany West. Uncle Jack's brother. Did you tell him Mr. Worthing was in town?
Yes, miss, he seemed very much disappointed. I mentioned to him that you and Miss Prism were in the garden. He said he was very anxious to speak with you privately for a moment.
Ask Mr. Earnest Worthing to come out here. And I suppose you had better talk to the housekeeper about a room for him.
Yes, miss.
I've never met a really wicked person before. I feel rather frightened. I'm so afraid he looks just like everyone else. He does.
You are my little cousin Cecily, I'm sure.
You are under some strange mistake. I'm not little. In fact, I believe I'm more than usually tall for my age. But I am your cousin Cecily. You, I see from your car, Uncle Jack's brother, my cousin Ernest, my wicked cousin Ernest.
I'm really not wicked at all, cousin Cecily. You mustn't think that I am wicked.
If you are not, then you've certainly been deceiving us all in a very inexcusable manner. I hope you've not been leading a double life, pretending to be wicked and being really good all the time. That would be hypocrisy.
Oh. I suppose I have been rather reckless.
I'm glad to hear it.
In fact, now you mention the subject, I have been very bad in my own small way.
I don't think you should be very proud of that. Though I'm sure it must have been very pleasant.
It's much pleasanter being here with you.
I can't understand how you're here at all. Uncle Jack won't be back until Monday afternoon.
That is a great disappointment. I'm obliged to go up by the first train on Monday morning. I have a business engagement that I am anxious to miss.
To miss it anywhere but London?
No, the appointment is in London.
one wants to retain any sense of the beauty of life. But still, I think you had better wait until Uncle Jack arrives. I know he wants to speak to you about your emigrating.
About my what?
Your emigrating. He has gone up to buy her out.
I certainly wouldn't let Jack buy my outfit. He has absolutely no taste in neckties at all.
I don't think you'll require necklaces. Uncle Jack is sending you to Australia.
Australia? I'd sooner die!
Well, he said at dinner on Wednesday night that you had to choose between this world, the next world, and Australia.
Well, the accounts I have received of Australia and the next world are not particularly encouraging. This world is good enough for me, Professor.
Yes. But are you good enough for it?
I'm afraid I'm not that. That is why I want you to reform me. You might make that your mission if you don't mind, Cousin Cecily.
I'm afraid I've no time this afternoon.
Well, would you mind my reforming myself this afternoon?
It is rather quixotic with you, but I think you should try.
I will. I feel better already.
You are looking a little worse.
That is because I am hungry.
How thoughtless of me! I should have remembered that if one is going to lead an entirely new life, one requires regular and wholesome meals. Won't you come in?
Thank you. Might I have a buttonhole first? I have never any appetite unless I have a buttonhole first.
I shall leave.
No. I'd sooner have a pink rose.
Why?
Because you are like a pink rose, Cousin Cecily.
I don't think it can be quite right for you to talk to me like that. Miss Prism never says such things to me.
And Miss Prism is a short-sighted old lady. You are the prettiest girl I ever saw.
Miss Prism says all good looks are a snare.
They're a snare that every sensible man would like to be caught in.
I don't think I would care to catch a sensible man. I should know what to talk to him about.
You're too much alone, dear Dr. Chasuble. You should get married. A misanthrope I can understand. A woman-thrope. Never.
Believe me, I do not deserve so neologistic a phrase. The precept as well as the practice of the primitive church was distinctly against matrimony.
That is obviously the reason why the primitive church has not lasted up to the present day. And you do not seem to realize, dear doctor, that by persistently remaining single, a man converts himself into a permanent, public temptation. Men should be more careful. This very celibacy leads weaker vessels astray.
But is a man not equally attractive when married?
No married man is ever attractive, except to his wife.
And often I have been told, not even to her.
That depends on the intellectual sympathies of the woman. Maturity can always be depended on. Ripeness can be trusted. Young women are green. I spoke horticulturally. My metaphor was drawn from fruits. But where is Cecily?
Perhaps she followed us to the schools?
Mr. Worthing.
Mr. Worthing?
This is indeed a surprise. We did not look for you till Monday afternoon.
I returned sooner than I expected. Dr. Chasuble, I hope you are well.
Dear Mr. Worthing, I trust this garb of woe does not betoken some terrible calamity.
My brother!
More shameful debts and extravagance.
Still leading his life of pleasure.
Dead!
Your brother Ernest? Dead?
Quite dead.
What a lesson for him. I trust he will profit by it.
Mr. Worthing, I offer you my sincere condolence. You have at least the consolation of knowing that you were always the most generous and forgiving of brothers.
Poor Earnest! He had many faults, but 'tis a sad, sad blow.
Very sad indeed. Were you with him at the end?
No, he died abroad, in Paris in fact. I got a telegram last night from the manager of the Grand Hotel.
Was the cause of death mentioned?
Listen to it, chill, it seems.
As a man sows, so shall he reap.
Charity, dear Miss Prism, Charity. We are none of us perfect. I myself am peculiarly susceptible to drafts. Will the interment take place here?
No, he seems to have expressed a desire to be buried in Paris.
Oh, in Paris. I fear that hardly points to any very serious state of mind at the last. You would no doubt wish me to make some slight allusion to this tragic domestic occurrence next Sunday. My sermon on the meaning of the manna in the wilderness can be adapted to almost any occasion. Joyful, or as in the present case, distressing. I have preached it at harvest celebrations, christenings, confirmations, on days of mourning and festive days. The last time I delivered it was in the cathedral as a charity sermon on behalf of the Society for the Prevention of Discontent among the upper orders. The bishop who was present was much struck by some of the analogies I drew.
Ah, you mentioned christenings, I think, Dr. Cheswell. I suppose you know how to christen, all right? I mean, of course, you are continually christening, aren't you?
It is, I regret to say, one of the rector's most constant duties in his parish. I have often spoken with the poor classes on the subject, but they don't seem to know what thrift is.
But is there any particular infant in whom you are interested, Mr. Will? Your brother was, I believe, unmarried, was he not?
Oh, yes.
People who live entirely for pleasure usually are.
But it is not for any child to adopt. I am very fond of children. No, the fact is, I would like to be christened myself this afternoon, if you have nothing better to do.
But surely, Mr. Worthing, you have been christened already.
I don't remember anything about it.
But have you any grave doubts on the subject?
I certainly intend to have. Of course, I don't know if the thing would bother you in any way, or if you think I'm a little too old now.
Not at all. The sprinkling, and indeed immersion, of adults is a perfectly canonical practice.
Immersion?
And you need have no apprehensions. Sprinkling is all that is necessary. Or indeed, I think, advisable. Our weather is so cold. At what time would you wish the ceremony performed?
Oh, I might trot round about 5, if that would suit you.
Perfectly, perfectly. In fact, I have 2 similar ceremonies to perform at that time. A case of twins that occurred in one of the outlying cottages on your own estate. Poor Jenkins the carter, a most hard-working man.
No, I don't see much fun in being christened along with other babies. It'll be a challenge. Would 5:30 do?
Admirably, admirably. And now, dear Mr. Worthing, I will not intrude any further into a house of sorrow. I would merely beg you not to be too much bowed down by grief. What seem to us bitter trials are often blessings in disguise.
This seems to me to be a blessing of an extremely obvious kind.
Uncle Jack? Oh, I'm pleased to see you back. What horrid clothes you have on. Do go change them.
Cicely!
My child, my child.
What is the matter? Do look happy. You look as if you had a toothache, and I've got such a surprise for you. Who do you think is in the dining room? Your brother.
Who?
Your brother Ernest. He arrived about half an hour ago.
That's nonsense. I haven't got a brother.
Oh, don't say that. However badly he may behave to you in the past, he's still your brother. You couldn't be so heartless as to disown him. I'll tell him to come out and you will shake hands with him, won't you, Uncle Jack?
These are joyful tidings.
After we had all become resigned to his loss, I find his sudden return peculiarly distressing.
My brother is in the dining room. I don't know what this all means. I think this is perfectly absurd. Good heavens. Brother John,
I have come down from town to tell you that I am very sorry for the trouble I have given you, and that I intend to lead a better life in the future.
Uncle Jack, you are not going to refuse your own brother's hand.
Nothing will induce me to take his hand. I think his coming here perfectly disgraceful. But he knows perfectly well why.
Oh, it would be nice. There is some good in everyone. Ernest has just been telling me about his poor invalid friend, Mr. Bunbury, whom he goes to visit so often. And sure, there must be much good in one who is kind to an invalid, and leaves the pleasures of London to sit by a bed of pain.
Oh, he's been talking about Bunbury, has he?
Yes, he has told me all about poor Mr. Bunbury and his terrible state of health.
Bunbury. Well, I won't have him talking about Bunbury or about anything else. It is enough to drive one perfectly frantic.
Of course, I admit that the faults were all on my side. But I must say, I find Brother John's coldness to me peculiarly painful. I expected a more enthusiastic welcome, especially considering it is the first time I have come here.
Uncle Jack, if you don't shake hands with Ernest, I'll never forgive you.
Never forgive me.
Never, never, never.
Well, this is the last time I shall ever do it.
It is pleasant, is it not, to see so perfect a reconciliation? I think we might leave the two brothers together.
Cecily, you will come with us.
Certainly, my little task of reconciliation is over.
You have done a beautiful action today, my child.
Let us not be premature in our judgments.
I feel very happy.
You young scoundrel, Algy, you will have to get out of here as soon as possible. I don't allow any Bunburying here.
I have put Mr. Earnest's things in the room next to yours, sir. I suppose that is all right?
What?
Mr. Earnest's luggage, sir. I've unpacked it and put it in the room next to your own.
His luggage.
Yes, sir. 3 portmanteaus, a dressing case, 2 hat boxes, and a large luncheon basket.
I'm afraid I can't stay more than a week this time.
Merriman, order the dog cart at once. Mr. Earnest has been suddenly called back to town.
Yes, sir.
What a fearful liar you are, Jack. I have not been called back to town at all.
Yes, you have.
I haven't heard anyone call me.
Your duty as a gentleman calls you back.
My duty as a gentleman has never interfered with my pleasures in the smallest degree.
I can quite understand that.
Well, Cecily is a dog.
You are not to talk of Miss Cardew like that. I don't like it.
Well, I don't like your clothes. You are perfectly ridiculous in them. Why don't you go up and change? It's perfectly childish to be in deep mourning for a man who's actually staying for a whole week with you in your house as a guest. I call it grotesque.
You are certainly not staying with me in my house for a whole week as a guest or anything else. You have got to leave by the 4-5 train.
I certainly won't leave you so long as you are in mourning. Most unfriendly. If I were in mourning, you would stay with me, I suppose. I should think it very unkind if you didn't.
Well, will you go if I change my clothes?
Yes. If you are not too long. I never saw anybody take so long to dress. And with such little result.
Well, at any rate, that is better than being always overdressed as you are.
If I am occasionally a little overdressed, I make up for it by being always immensely overeducated.
Your vanity is ridiculous. Your conduct and outrage, your presence in my garden, utterly absurd. However, you have got to catch the 4-5, and I hope you will have a pleasant journey back to town. This Bunburying, as you call it, has not been a great success for you.
I think it has been a great success. I'm in love with Cecily. And that is everything. However, I must see her before I go and make arrangements for another Bunbury. Ah, there she is.
I merely came back to water the roses. I thought you were with Uncle Jack.
He's gone to order the dog cart for me.
Is it going to take you for a nice drive?
It's going to send me away.
Then have I got a part?
I'm afraid so. It's a very painful parting.
It is always painful to part from people who one is known for a very brief space of time. The absence of old friends one can enjoy with equanimity. But if a momentary separation from anyone to whom one has just been introduced, it is almost unbearable.
Thank you.
The dog cart is at the door, sir.
It can wait, Merriman. For
Yes.
5 minutes.
Yes, miss.
I hope, Cecily, I shall not offend you if I state quite frankly and openly that you seem to me to be in every way the visible personification of absolute perfection.
I think your frankness does you great credit, Ernest. If you will allow me, I will copy your remarks into my diary.
Do you really keep a diary? I do anything to look at, may I?
No! It is very simply a young girl's record of her own thoughts and impressions, and consequently meant for publication. When it does appear in volume form, I hope you will order a copy. But pray, Ernest, don't stop. I should like it taken down for dictation. I have reached absolute perfection. You can go on. I'm quite ready for more. Oh, don't cough, Ernest. When one is dictating, one should speak fluently, not cough. Besides, I don't know how to spell.
Cecily, ever since I first looked upon your wonderful and incomparable beauty, I've dared to love you wildly, passionately, devotedly, hopelessly.
I don't think you should say that you love me wildly, passionately, devotedly. Hopelessly? Hopelessly doesn't seem to make much sense, does it?
Cecily!
The dog cart is waiting, sir.
Tell it to come around next week, at the same hour.
Yes, sir.
Uncle Jack would be very much annoyed if he knew you were staying on until next week, at the same hour.
I don't care about Jack. I don't care about anybody in the world but you. I love you, Cecily. You will marry me, won't you?
You silly boy, of course. But we have been engaged for the last 3 months.
For the last 3 months?
Yes, it will be exactly 3 months. On Thursday.
But how did we become engaged?
Well, ever since dear Uncle Jack first confessed to us that he had a younger brother, who was very wicked and bad, you, of course, have formed the chief topic of conversation between myself and Miss Prism. And of course, a man who has much talked about is always very attractive. One feels there must be something hidden after all. I dare say it's foolish of me, but I fell in love with you, Alice.
Darling. And when was the engagement actually settled?
On the 14th of February last. Worn out by an entire ignorance of my existence, I determined to end the matter one way or another. And after a long struggle with myself, I accepted you. Under this dear old tree here. The next day I bought this little ring in your name. And this is the little bangle with the true lover's note I promised you always.
Did I give you this? It's very pretty, isn't it?
Yes, you've wonderfully good taste, Alice. It's the excuse I've always given for your leading such a bad life. And this is the box in which I keep all your dear letters.
My letters? But my own sweet Cecily, I've never written you any letters.
You need hardly remind me of that, Ernest. I remember only too well that I was forced to write the letters for you. I wrote always 3 times a week, and sometimes oftener.
Do you let me read them, Cecily?
I couldn't possibly. They would make you far too conceited. The 3 you wrote me after I'd broken off the engagement are so beautiful and so badly stuck that even now I can hardly read them without crying a little.
But was our engagement ever broken off?
Of course it was.